Avoiding mental fight or flight. Hi, I'm Holly G. Green, the architect of pause, Thinking to Thrive expert, and author of the new book, Using Your Brain to Win. Have you ever made a dumb management decision? One that seemed like a good idea at the time, but after it fell flat, you looked back and wondered, what was I thinking? Well, we all do this from time to time. But you may be surprised to learn that one cause of this particular human trait is rooted deep in our evolutionary past and in our brains. In fact, it has a lot to do with an evolutionary process we're all familiar with: fight or flight. Modern research has discovered that humans apply our fight or flight reflexes not only to predators, but to data itself, a finding that has serious consequences for today's business leaders. Mental fight or flight causes us to miss obvious information that affects our markets, our customers, and our business. It encourages decisions based on outdated assumptions rather than hard data. And it leads us to cling to the past rather than opening up to new possibilities, an essential skill for keeping up with today's hyper-paced markets. Here's how it works. Back in the old days, when our brain said, saber-toothed tiger, we didn't stand around debating the pros and cons of running away. We instinctively kicked into high gear and hightailed it to a safer place. These days, when we hear an idea that threatens our prevailing view of the world, the same reaction takes place. Our bodies don't physically run to a safer location, but our brains do. We either reject the information out of hand, flight, or argue vociferously against it, fight. This leads to behaviors that do not support well-reasoned management decisions. When we're in mental fight or flight, we give greater credence to evidence that bolsters our beliefs. We vigorously dispute arguments and information points of view that contradict our own. We constantly screen in the data that proves us right and screen out the data that might prove us wrong. And so we miss seeing information that could prevent us from making a costly decision. How can you tell when you're in mental fight or flight mode? When you find yourself getting defensive when people challenge you. When you feel threatened by a statement, idea, or an issue. When you see others as stupid for having a different point of view. When you refuse to even consider an idea because you know it isn't true, or that's the way we've always done it. One big problem with mental fight or flight is that it happens instantaneously, just below the level of consciousness usually. We hear a new idea, the brain perceives a threat, our minds instantly run to safety. To avoid this mental knee-jerk reaction, we first need to become aware we're in mental fight or flight, and then pause. Pause for a moment to let the conscious brain take over. Anytime you find yourself having a strong, instantaneous, emotional reaction to an idea or statement, pause and ask yourself, why am I reacting so strongly to this? What is my underlying assumption or belief that is being challenged? Is that assumption or belief still true? Has anything changed in the world? Where do I stand to lose by having my point of view challenged? Is it time for me to update my own thinking? We're not going to change 1,000,000 years of brain evolution overnight, but we can minimize the damage by becoming aware of when we're in mental fight or flight, and then logically assessing our own reaction. The more we practice pausing and evaluating our mental fight or flight responses, the more distance we can put between now and our most recent "what was I thinking" decision.